Thank you very much for the kind introduction and also the opportunity to share with you our achievements, let's say, during the Microbiota Vault. I guess we all have a personal motivation to study the microbiome. And mine is this, and a few have seen this maybe. So this is the microbiome of a kiss. Now this is not just any kiss, it's actually the kiss of my wife. And so I really want to explore the function of bacteria. And maybe you know, with every kiss, you transmit about 60 million bacteria. So we are not preserving kisses in the Microbiota Vault. The samples we collect are stool samples, so quite the opposite, and also food samples. And the idea is to preserve biodiversity for the future. Now here is my second motivation. As you realized, I have a few kilos extra, and I think it's not my fault, it's the fault of my microbiome. It simply cannot handle the Big Macs I'm eating. So what you see here is actually the diversity between different cohorts of the microbiome. So in yellow, you have the typical US microbiome, and here you have a way more diverse microbiome from people who do not follow Western lifestyles. Now, more and more people follow Western lifestyle, and so we lose biodiversity. And this is the core idea behind the Microbiota Vault, to have these bacteria available and around when we know more about their functions. So the Microbiota Vault is a global non-profit initiative to conserve long-term health for humanity, and we try to preserve that biodiversity. We try to collect, preserve, and also enable research. And for this purpose, we actually work together with local working collections around the globe, and I will tell you a bit more about that now on the next couple of slides. If you want to follow us and also get more information, please visit our website. Now, this is something which is done by many, many people. And the core idea is from this group here on the left side. And you can see here Maria Gloria Dominguez, who does a lot of research on biodiversity around the globe. And her husband is Marty Blaser, and he also is obviously a very well-known microbiome researcher. Now, they decided to build such a Microbiota Vault, and they were thinking about where should they do this. And Switzerland was obviously a very interesting choice for them. I think they romanticized a bit the idea to have a bunker in the Swiss Alps where the stool samples are stored. Now, this is, typical American, I would say, but they reached out to us, to Pascal von Esch from the University of Lausanne, Nicola Bokulic here from ETH Zurich, and myself. And we formed this pilot team. And before that was actually happening, they did a feasibility study. So they wanted to know, is there actually some potential in storing the microbiome? And so the feasibility study was really positive about that. And then Dominik Steiger and Manuel Fankhauser reached out to a series of Swiss foundations, and we got quite some substantial funding to have now a 3-year launch period funded, and now we are close to the end of this project. So the goals of the launch phase was to really tackle this problem in all its diverse aspects. So first of all, we wanted to see, is it possible to make an installation of a biobank infrastructure in Switzerland? And obviously buying a bunker is not so easy. So initiating then collaboration projects, that was very important for us. And not just storing our own samples, but really reaching out to groups around the world. And you're going to see then a few of these partners. Then shipping the samples. So how should we actually collect and ship these samples? How should they be collected in a good way? And what is very, very important in these samples is also the context of these samples. So you do not just want a single stool sample where you have no information around that. And the data, the diversity of the data, the metadata basically, you need to collect in a very standardized way. And around the globe, there are different standards. So we try to have there some sort of minimal vocabulary established. And then obviously also Nikola Bokolic does a lot of database development and develops all the bioinformatic tools to analyze this. So these were, let's say, the goals of the launch phase. And we've separated that into 7 work packages, which you can see here. It has a lot to do in the beginning also with legal aspects and governance structures. So you really need to negotiate that people trust the samples into your hand, that you don't commercialize them, let's say. This is really a fear of people, and I totally can understand that. So we set up a proper legal framework. Took us a while actually to establish this. Then the validation and validation of storage conditions and development of SOPs. You're going to see there a bit more on that. How we actually standardize the freezing procedure. Then the connections with the local working groups. The storage, which is done here in Zurich. Then the data generation and obviously the metagenomic part. So we have 3 teams, as mentioned. Pascal's team is responsible for the exploration of the best storage condition. So we explored various media in various freezing temperatures and also then checked in different subculture plates what is the best condition. This is ongoing work, so we have not yet determined this. We are really waiting there for the sequencing results. After a year now, we thaw the samples and are checking them. And then obviously she has a lot of connections due to her work. She was formerly at the Swiss Tropical and Public Health Institute, so she has a lot of connections to low and middle income countries, so we have very valuable partners there. Then my team is sequencing, and we follow there the Earth microbiome protocol, the EMP protocol, and sequence the V4 region. And we also optimized quite a bit of DNA extraction from food. So we bought a lot of kimchi in Coop and tried to optimize DNA extraction. And then also storage, which is done currently in normal -80 freezers. And then the team of Nikola Bokolic really developing the analytical platforms, and one of his PhD students was really, really key to also develop the metadata definitions. And then the regulatory work I've mentioned, and here you can see some of our funding partners. Now, in work package 1, I just will keep this quick. I mean, it's really about local laws. Then there's the Nagoya Protocol, which you might know or have heard of. You cannot just simply go to a country and take a sample and bring this here. This is not allowed. You really need local partners to work with them. And then we handle this with material transfer agreements. So the way it actually works here is the donator of the sample, so the local working collection, is still the owner. So they own the sample, and we are simply, I have to hurry up. So we are simply basically storing these. Then here you can see the complex validation of the best storage condition. So we had here various media compositions which were added. So 5 stool samples from babies, 5 from children, and 5 from adults were known, split up and stored in different conditions. So we did a pre-assessment before storing. We checked the biodiversity, and now we stored them for 1 year. We thaw them now, and we are sequencing them and then compare what preserves the biodiversity the best. And that's, at the moment, it's a bit a mixed outcome. On one hand, we also culture, so we really know what is alive, and it's not just DNA preservation. The storage I mentioned, the partners we have are from Brazil, Ethiopia, Laos, Ghana, and also we have one Swiss group, and then also the fermented food samples. And the goal is, and we are close to that goal now, to have 2,000 samples from around the globe, and really to have these different use cases and the different laws. That was very important for us. The data annotation follows a Nextflow workflow with QIIME 2. This is largely developed by Nikola Bokulic. I will not go here too much into the detail. This can certainly be discussed later. And the take-home message to also allow now that there's some time for questions. So obviously, we all know storage is important of these samples. The loss of the biodiversity is really an issue, and we aim to preserve that. And the standardization of protocols is absolutely key, because that's a problem in the current field, and we really need to approach this, and this is why I'm here also as a medical microbiologist, because there we have a lot of standards, really from the sample collection to the reporting part even. This workflow is the goal to be optimized. And then the pilot, I think this was a fantastic ride, I have to say. It's really, still ongoing, but we've gained a lot of momentum together as a group, and we are getting there. And hopefully, with the positive results, we can then also attract some continuous and sustainable funding for this. And I think it's a safe harbor for low and middle income countries to preserve the samples and to have them stored in a safe place. And then one aspect which I've not touched upon is the GLOMINES, or the Global Microbiome Network, which was also formed in this consortium. So we do a lot of education in low and middle income countries on how can they actually collect and preserve these samples. And with this, I would like to thank, and especially really the colleagues which were involved here, Pascal von Esch, Nikola Bokulic, and from my team, Claudia Lee and Diana Albertos Torres, Anton and you, Sen, really for their great contributions to this, and happy to answer your questions.
Thank you for the talk, Adrian. We will now, we already have a question.
Works? Yes. So thank you very much for the talk. My first question would be, you said you're focusing now on stool samples and some food samples. Why? I mean, the oral microbiome, as you were saying, for the kiss, vaginal, as we've heard, skin microbiome, they all play an as important, maybe even more important role.
I'm not sure about what microbiome is the most important one, but we had to start somewhere. And for us, it was important to not just have a human focus alone. So the food was kind of important for us. Also, there's more and more industrialization of food production. And then obviously, all these, old methods on how you preserve your food, people lose this technology and the knowledge also about it. And that was the reason for the food. And the stool sample, I think it's easy to access. There's plenty of sample material. And as to preserve the skin microbiome, I can tell you, is a pain. We are currently running such a study, and it's very, very hard to get enough DNA out of these samples. And so I think we wanted to start with a lower hanging fruit. And maybe, if we gain a substantial funding over the next years, then we can certainly also approach this. The oral microbiome, that's clearly also would be highly interesting. There I'm running a citizen science project with 2 high schools where we actually swap the generations, so the students, the parents, and the grandparents, and we try to collect their samples, and I guess these samples will also end up in the microbiota vault.
So, one quick question. You were first, in the back.
Thank you. It's an impressive amount of work. When you talk about preserving it, it's, I assume, for later use. So could you talk a bit about how it comes to ownership? Like the ownership, you said it's with the partners, but not with the donors of the samples?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the thing is, clearly, the owners are not us. And we received the samples, and it was really a trust-forming, act, I would say, that we say, look, you still are the owner, and they can actually tell if they want the samples back, we will ship them back. The benefit for us is that they can opt in now in the pilot phase to actually get their samples sequenced for free. And this is where we actually then do the sequencing and analyze the data together with them. And so that's really interesting for us to get access to interesting samples. Now, later on, the samples were collected as part of studies following the local laws of these different countries. So I'm not sure if a patient could claim back and say, I'm the owner of this stool sample I gave 10 years ago, I want this back. I'm doubtful that this is going to happen, to be honest. But, and so I think the ownership was transferred, you know, to the local study collector.
Okay. Well, thank you. You can talk to Adrian after the roundtable session. Let's give a round.